and he was blown out of the landing craft at Iwo Jima. Got metal in both legs, and taken to the ship's hospital, and he thought he had the $1 million wound. He'd be going to the hospital in Hawaii. But instead, they put him back on another LCM, told him, get the Marines on the beachheads.
So Don Kimbrell, he was married to
My sister Floss.
Floss. Okay.
And my brother-in-law Carl, Irene's husband, he was drove an LCM, landing craft, ship to shore supplies, and he was in the Philippine Islands. And two other islands, I can't think of the name just offhand. And then my brother, Jim, he was drafted and made the landing at D-Day. And was with Patton at Battle of the Bulge. He was in the crew that liberated the first concentration camp. And then he was wounded in Germany. He hit bomb flak in both legs, come home. But they were all big heroes. But they were betting I wouldn't make it. Never give it a thought.
So after the fire, what else happened in the Army? After the Ridge Fire? What was next?
After which fire?
After the Ridge Fire that you just put out.
Oh,
What happened next?
what happened next?
Yeah.
I finished my time. We had several fires there, but we had a guy that would come from the nearest town, and he'd light these deals up and sail them off the road and start fires.
Oh, God.
And we were always on the alert for trying to catch him and stop the fires. Anyways, Pat Patterson and I were out in the Jeep one night cruising the area, and we got this guy. And the problem was the Jeep wasn't fast enough to stay up with his car. He took the plates off. He got away from us. But it stopped the fires. He knew we were out there looking for him. But when I finished my time in the Army, why, they took me back to Fort Ord from Hunter Liggett a week early, and they gave me recruitment talks. Every day they give me a recruitment talk. The last recruitment talk this lieutenant gave me, and I told him I wasn't going to re-enlist, and he was really pissed. But they offered me a $1,500 cash bonus, which was a lot of money at that time, if I'd re-enlist, and they offered me helicopter pilot school, and if I graduated from there, I'd be made a warrant officer. And I told him no, I was going out the door, I wasn't coming back. If I'd have done that, I would have been on the first wave of chopper pilots into Vietnam. I got out, as I went out the gate at Fort Ord for the last time, I stopped. You have to stop, check with the MP at the gate. And I took my hat off and folded up, and I sailed my hat to him, and he caught it in the air, and he laughed because he knew I wouldn't be back. And I made myself a promise. I was never going to go to the snow lines, and I was never going to stand in line again. I've been standing in line ever since. But it was a different time, and I was foolish.
So it's
That ended my trip, the service.
that in your service. So it's 1957 now? You got out in 57 or 58?
Yeah, 57.
57. So you come home and now what?
Now what? I went down and applied for unemployment, and I started looking for a job. And my sister Floss, next door neighbor, was the head guard at the Campbell Soup Company. And he asked me if I wanted to go to work at Campbell Soup, and I told him, yeah, I'll take any job I can get. So he wrote a name down on a slip of paper, was the head guy did the hiring at Campbell Soup. And he said, go into the office and ask for this guy by name. And when I did, he come out and he said, you're Bud Clifford? I said, yep. He says, you're hired. So I went to work for Campbell Soup. I worked through the tomato season. I started out in the label room, and anytime you worked over 100% in your shift, you got paid extra money. So every shift I ever worked there, I got paid extra money. After being there through, I don't know how many months, then they changed, took me off the label room deal. We had to take carts of cans. When the cans quit running down the belt, we had to feed the cans machines to keep them going. Anyways, they took me up to the cook line. I went to work on the cook line. And we were doing soup line and feeding the canning machines. We had a big deal on a cart. We'd fill it up with soup off the cook machines. Then we'd take it over to the canning machines, and we had to dip it into the canning machines, you know. And I worked through there till the tomato season was over. And I was told to go to the office, and I went to the office, and most of the jobs were just seasonal jobs.
Right.
And they offered me a full-time job working on a cook line.
Nice.
And I told them no, that I'll go and find me another job. They just want to know why. I says, the guy that ran the cook line is a complete asshole. I just got out of the army to get away from somebody like him. You know, so. And then I worked for Beacon Van and Storage, moving furniture and stuff. And then after that, it was time to go back to Campbell Soup again. I went and worked in a warehouse loading freight cars, you know. And that's where I met Mark Otani. And when he finished up that season again, I went and worked a season for Brighton Sand and Gravel and road construction. I was automatically a laborer in the labor union because I was in a labor union at Campbell Soup. But anyways, I worked a whole season for Brighton Sand and Gravel on road construction. Then after that, I was still working in the guy that lived across the street from my folks. He worked for the drywall outfit. He'd just gone to work for him as a finisher. So he said it's a good job and good paying job. So I went out there to apply for a job with him, and I applied for the job, and Bob Powell was the boss, and he looked at me and he said, "You're not going to be a finisher. You're going to be a drywall carpenter, rock hanger." So I went to work for him and joined the union and everything. And I was an apprentice. I had been there 6 months, and somebody told me, one of the guys told me that the boss wanted me to come by the shop on the way home. I figured I was getting fired, but I went in there, and he said he was going to start giving me journeyman's pay. And I told him, I'm in apprenticeship school, been there for 6 months, I got to get the time served. And he said he was going to start paying me journeyman's pay because I've been doing a house a day, taking another guy and doing a house, sheetrocking a house a day every day. The houses were 3,700 feet on the small one and 4,300 feet on the big ones. And the journeyman was required to hang and nail 2,000 square feet of sheetrock a day, and I'd been doing that. So he wanted to pay me journeyman's pay. So that's how I became a carpenter. Then I worked for God knows how many different companies. I just got my 65-year pin as a carpenter 2 years ago. And I work for a lot of big companies.
You work steady, right?
Yeah, I work steady. When work ran out here, why, I had a connection in San Francisco with a drywall company there. And all I had to do was Bob McHugh. All I had to do was call him, and he had a place for me to work. So I went to work over there the first time. Leonard Haven and I went over there to work for him. And we were doing so much. It took the houses we were doing. It was taking those guys, well, they come to complain to us, and they figured we were troublemakers from the Bay Area, from the Valley. Anyways, they accused us of making them look bad, and I said, well, how long does it take you guys to sheetrock a house? And they said it's a two-man team. It takes them 10 to 12 hours to sheetrock a house. And the whole crew come over and they were pissed off at us. And I told them, well, come back at lunchtime and have lunch with us. So when they come back at lunchtime, all we had left to do in the house was put up 10 pieces of corner bead. We were done. I told them, I says, I've been sitting here on my ass on the all afternoon since we've been here looking out at the ocean. Because I knew we didn't want to make you guys look bad. But we were doing the house in 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
And it was taking them 10, 12 hours to do a house. So when we left, after so many months there, why, we got a job, offered a job back in Sacramento. So we were going home. And they wanted me to stay. They wanted me to run their drywall out. And I told them I wasn't about to live in San Francisco. And Dot and I were married. We had a 50-foot 10-wide United trailer we were living in that I'd bought. And the guys that owned the company says they've been at all the trailer parks in the Bay Area. And they didn't have not even one spot that they could fit my trailer in. My trailer was too big for any of the trailer parks in the Bay Area. I told them I wasn't going to stay and work for them anyway. But the head guy was Bob McHugh, and anytime I needed a job again, all I had to do was call him. And he'd tell me where to go. I worked on the housing projects there. I worked on Market Street, and I worked on a big hotel downtown.
Mhm.
But here, when they did the Downtown Plaza project, why Drywall Systems had the first the building on the core, so they sent me out there to run the framing crew on the core.
Mhm.
And when the first job come up, I was can't remember the name of it. But anyways, we did such a good job that the guy was really impressed with us. He was from San Francisco, was head of this big building company. And he gave us the first job, and the first job I was so impressed with it. Why, I laid out and framed the first 10 or 12 stores that went in there in the Downtown Plaza project. But I worked on 555 Capitol Mall, both halves of the building when they built it. I worked on most of the tall buildings, high rises downtown. One, I can't remember the name of one. One was a 19-story building. I worked from the bottom clear to the top. And did all kinds of framing. But I worked on most of the buildings downtown.
Cool.
My memory is so bad now, I can't remember the names of all the buildings. I worked on Kaiser Hospital here. The first phase of Kaiser Hospital I worked for Performance Contracting Company. It was a nationwide firm. A PCI, they call them. And I worked framing on the first phase. I worked on 2 phases of Kaiser Hospital here. And then I worked on all those buildings across the other side of Mack Road, all the commercial buildings there.
Right.
I run that whole project there, framed that. And then I did Bruner's store there. I ran the job on that when they did that. And then the coffee shop right across the street from Bruner's.
Mhm.
I sheetrocked all that. So many jobs I can't remember them all.
Did you do more commercial or houses? What do you think?
I did more commercial
Really?
than I did houses.
Okay.
But the housing outfits I work for, like I said, 2 guys were expected to hang 4,000 feet of sheetrock a day, you know, hang a nail. And some of the outfits I work for would have bigger houses. And I was tagged on them. They had 6,000 square feet of sheetrock in them, and I could hang one of those in one day with another guy.
Wow.
So I was always, all I had to do to get another job was pick up the phone. You know, had a good reputation in town.
Good. All right.